If you will just drop all of that religious effort and let God love you and begin to enjoy Him. I often share the difference between law and grace. In the Gospel of John, the first chapter, it says the law came by Moses, but grace and reality came through Jesus. Hey, what would you rather have? Because see, in law, there's no mercy. There is no mercy in law. You break the law, you pay the penalty. But Jesus came to bring you grace and truth. And when you look up, one of the root words for grace is enjoyment. So Jesus came to teach you and to reveal to you how to enjoy God. And it's not by your effort, and it's not by what you try to do. It's simply by, oh God, to really understand His unconditional love and grace and mercy. That one thing alone will change you without any effort whatsoever. And you see, this is a journey. And none of us go from, flesh to spirit in a short time. But the journey can be enjoyable. Instead of focusing on the negative things that are being, or focusing on, the goal or the end, we need to enjoy the journey. And even those things in our life that's not yet perfected, or we're not where we can look at those things with anticipation of overcoming. You see, and that's what Revelation 12:11 is all about. It says they overcame Him how? By the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. Now, we've really kind of lost sight of that, what it really is the blood, because it's not, we used to go around saying the blood, the blood, the blood, the blood, and really not have a real spiritual understanding. What is that? Well, it's the life. The life is in the blood. And so we overcome the accuser of the brethren by the life of God, not by the efforts of our carnal nature. And it says there that the accuser accused them before God day and night. There is no let up in the accusation of the enemy. He accuses you before God day and night. Well, where's God? Okay. And where is the accuser? So he accuses you. Your mind, day and night, will accuse you before God in your spirit, so that you can never rise above the human thinking and the carnal reasoning. The accuser isn't up here in the airwaves. How long did I fight devils in the airwaves? And we used to go out and try to bring down principalities and powers over cities. I'll tell you, that is so foolish. The only thing you need to pull down is those principalities and powers that dwell between your ears, that accuse you before God day and night. Paul told the Romans, he said, if you were reconciled to God, even when you were enemies, you were reconciled to God by the death of His Son, much more being reconciled, you shall be saved by your effort. Now, that's what they're going to teach you in most of the churches. But what it says is you overcome by His life. If you realize there's absolutely nothing that you personally can do to overcome. And the more you try to overcome, the more you will find yourself under the law in Romans chapter 7. The moment you try out of your carnal nature to overcome anything, you will find yourself being pulled down into the law of sin and death. Because we have to get into another life law. The law of sin and death, working through the carnal mind, will always keep you enslaved and imprisoned in the mind. But the law of the Spirit of life in Christ Jesus will set you free from that law of sin and death. It's like Have you ever tried to overcome the law of gravity? By jumping off of the building? And that's what we do with our Christian life. We try to take our carnal nature and improve it. We try to do everything we can do to make it better. But you cannot defy the law of gravity or the law of sin and death unless you get into a higher law. If you get in an airplane, you get into the law of lift, and that will lift you above the law of gravity. And that's why we have to get so intimate with Jesus. We have to get so intimate with our Father that we enter into that law of life that lifts us, just like the plane lifts you out of the law of gravity. It lifts you into the law of life. And when you really begin to sail in the law of life, you are so released from all that religious thinking. I'll never forget when I first went to a Pentecostal church, the pastor handed me a card. And he said, if you want to join the church, you have to sign this card. So in the card it said, I won't dance, I won't drink, I won't smoke, I won't... And I took the card back to the pastor. I said, I can't sign that. I do all those things.
And enjoy it.
And enjoy it, absolutely. Well, what I found out, you know, after really coming into the true knowledge of the freedom in Christ, I am free to do anything. You tell me what is wrong with me, you know, dancing with my wife. Yet I've been in places that would forbid you to do that. You tell me what is wrong. But see, as seeking Christians and getting caught in religion, instead of enjoying life, we get depressed.
Yes.
Because we're so limited in what we're allowed to do. Religion will keep you in so much bondage, it will bring you into a depression. And I know that by experience. I have spent days, I'd have to force myself to get out of bed. I was so miserable and depressed because I couldn't live the Christian life. But when I discovered that the freedom that comes with the awareness, not the knowledge, but the awareness of His life in you, and realize that, I mean, you are free. If Christians knew how free they were, there would be so much rejoicing when we come together. You are free. You are absolutely free of all the religious trappings that you've been taught. I was in in holiness churches where I couldn't even wear short sleeves. You have to keep even a man couldn't wear short sleeves. And you know what? That's really an extreme. But nonetheless, if you have a religious mind, I guarantee you're in bondage. Because you need to be free. The only thing you need to do is to feel, is to know that whatever you're doing, or whatever you go to do, if there's anything that, let me put it this way, if there's anything that you're doing that you shouldn't do, there's only one being in the whole universe that should tell you you're wrong. And that's when you're in the presence of God, He will reveal to you that's not for you. And that makes God unique to each of us, because you know what? There's certain things that God will permit me to do that He wouldn't permit anybody else to do. And see, that's where religion has botched us up. Because I often share the story of my mother. She was a very proud woman. She loved God, but she was a very proud woman. And she wouldn't even answer the door in the mornings without putting on her makeup. She would not let anybody see her without makeup on. One morning, as she was before the mirror, God spoke to her and said, "You're a proud woman and you need to wash your face and stop that makeup." I'll tell you, I remember this, it almost killed her. I mean, she was devastated, big like my brother giving up music. But you know what? She did it. And she learned to face people without makeup on, and she was that way for about 3 years.